Saints camp is in full swing, and this year the Saints have a Super Bowl caliber roster. We'll show you which players have been the early camp stars. Plus the mindset of Drew Brees entering his 13th season in New Orleans. A one-on-one with the new voice of the Saints, Strief, and an airline drive visit from LSU Defensive Coordinator Dave Aranda. Four days into training camp and the buzz is on. The Saints know expectations are high and they're okay with it. I'm Doug Mouton. Welcome to 4th Down on 4. What are your expectations? As camp opens, how far will this team go? We're giving you three choices. No playoffs, get to the playoffs but lose, or advance to the team's second Super Bowl. Vote now on our website, wwltv.com/vote, or on our mobile app. You see some results, full results coming later. We'll start tonight, though, with how the team is dealing with the Super Bowl hype, as Andrew Doak reports in Metairie.
There's a different buzz in the building this year.
We're here to win. We're here to win championships. I feel like now we got, Timo left, Drew. Let's win a Super Bowl. I gotta join that group.
The Saints enter the 2018 season with one goal en route to winning a Super Bowl. Embrace the heavy championship expectations and prove them right.
Everyone loves the underdog mentality. It's easy to get motivated with the underdog mentality, but it's a little bit harder to maintain that level of focus and concentration when you're supposed to be, right, or you're expected to, but then again, if we want to be a great team, we have to be able to embrace that.
The Saints have a new motto this year. They're saying bow up. The slogan actually originated when they went on a bow fishing trip on the bayou this offseason. But this year it actually explains their mentality, because they'll no longer be the hunters. They will be the hunted.
With regards to bow up, that's just a term we used getting ready for this year. And it was a unique experience. Obviously, probably 99% of the team had never done it, including me.
A lot of people say, we got to prove them wrong this year because they got us at the bottom. But they got us at the top, we got to prove them right. That's what he said last night. So, that's really it, man. We gotta work at that, though. It's not going to come easy. It's baby steps, we got a long way to go.
Lattimore is a part of the Saints' new era. He is the future and part of the group that helped the Saints claw their way out of the NFC's cellar of mediocrity. But more importantly, a piece of the young nucleus that is reopening the championship window in New Orleans.
We've got this young talent that is continuing to develop, and I think you're always looking forward to seeing that jump from year 1 to year 2 for certain guys, and year 2 to year 3 for other guys. But it is about making sure that you have the cultural foundation, which we did not have back in 2014, I feel like we have this year.
And much of that foundation starts with and grows even firmer with the addition of veterans like linebacker Demario Davis and safety Kurt Coleman.
It's a great mixture. Every team that I've been on that's, been a team that is, made it to the playoffs, and obviously the team that I went to with the Super Bowl, we've had a great mixture. And I think that's the great thing about it is we have it here.
But the key to it all has been number 9. Brees continues to age like a fine wine. The Austin, Texas native holds 5 5,000-yard passing seasons, even though it wasn't required of him last year with the production he received from his backfield with Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram. But it was still one of his most efficient seasons of his career, and he's walking into 2018 with his same youthful exuberance.
It's that same level of excitement, though, and anticipation for what we can be, and this is where we build it. This is where we establish our identity, and just excited to get started.
Brees started his 18th training camp on Thursday. At 39 years old, he's an older model. But last season, he didn't show any signs of slowing down. If anything, he showed a fire that had been reignited. These times should be cherished by the Saints, by their fans, by this city. Because these times with number 9 behind center won't last forever. And this could be the start of another special season. In Metairie, Andrew Doak, 4th Down on 4.
All right, thanks, Andrew. Early impressions matter, and a bunch of guys have made them 4 days in. After Sunday's practice, we asked a quartet of guys who cover the team, Nick Underhill, Joel Erickson, and Rod Walker from The Advocate and WWL Radio's Christian Garrick, who they thought stood out 4 days in.
Well, it's been pretty obvious, I think, for everybody, is Traquan Smith. He's been unreal down the field. He both getting behind the defense, when he's not behind the defense, and it's a kind of a 50-50 ball, he's brought him down. He seems to have both a lot of long speed. Once he gets going, he's really moving, and he's really good at making contested catches with the balls in the air. So you can see why he led the college football in yards per reception last year. He's been a revelation, even more of a standout than I think anybody thought he'd be coming in.
I'd say Traquan Smith. I mean, he ended today's practice with another spectacular catch. He may have been out of bounds, I'm not sure, but he's played really well. I think a guy that people aren't talking about, though, is Arthur Millette, a local kid who's went to Bonneville High School, and he's played really well as well as a cornerback.
I think Traquan Smith, the rookie wide receiver, third-round draft pick, and he's fascinating in a lot of ways. He can lift the top off the defense. He's done that a couple times so far in training camp, but he's also a willing blocker. And I think if you go back and look at this offense is really humming, it's when they've had that guy that can lift the top off the defense, guys like Dever Henderson and Robert Meacham, and also can participate in the running game. Another player, Dan Arnold, and he's fascinating to think about as well, just because he was a wide receiver. He was in camp last year, but now he's at tight end, and he's getting matchups with safeties and linebackers. Those guys can't run with him. So those are two players that I really like to watch.
Everybody here is probably going to say Traquan Smith, so I'll go a different direction and highlight a couple other guys. I think Dan Arnold, he's transitioning from wide receiver to tight end. I feel like he's stood out every day. He's had a moment that's kind of forced you to take notice. Arthur Millette, the cornerback, he's done very well in one-on-ones. He's won all 4 of his reps over the last 2 days and has also performed well on special teams. So those are 2 guys that I'm kind of keeping an eye on, just is not so much deep sleepers, but just guys that potentially could, just if they keep contributing, could compete for a roster spot.
And to me, maybe the biggest positive early on is pass rushers not named Cam Jordan are now flashing. Number 92 rookie first-rounder Marcus Davenport has made a few plays, and so has second-year defensive end Trey Hendrickson, number 91. They were both great college pass rushers. I also asked Ricardo LeCompte and Andrew Doak for their early camp standouts.
Tommy Lee Lewis, whether it's on special teams or playing in the slot and getting some run at wide receiver, every time I think you count him out as a wide receiver, he makes some type of play. Yesterday, he went for like 60 yards, had an unbelievable cut, and scored a touchdown. He's a guy who just keeps resurfacing, and I feel like he's finally starting to figure it out a little bit, and he just has some juice. He has some energy to him. I don't know if you want to compare him to somebody like Darren Sproles, but I mean, he's an undersized guy who just continues to impress and play above his size.
Well, everyone loves the rookie Traquan Smith, but I'm going to go on the other side of the ball and go with Vonn Bell. And I think Vonn Bell's had an excellent 4 days, and I think his game has really stepped up because he's in such an intense competition with Kurt Coleman for that strong safety spot. Bell has been able to make plays out here, being able to break up a bunch of passes in these one-on-one drills and in these 11-on-11 drills. Vonn Bell, to me, has been the standout in these first 4 days.
Coming up, as Drew Brees enters his 13th year in black and gold, he knows the team is set up for success for the long haul, even though his career will come to an end sometime soon. Plus, our experts weigh in on the Saints' high expectations. We go one-on-one with new play-by-play announcer Zach Strief. And later, how Dave Aranda has a coaching connection with the team.
We're here to win. We're here to win championships.
Starts with, every day here in practice, having high energy, having high intensity, having high level of focus, and high level of execution.
How y'all doing? Everybody all right? Cold water, cold beer, cold Gatorade, hydration, intoxication.
The Super Bowl window is definitely open again for the Saints, and they feel it. But unlike the first window, when an entire team sort of grew up together, this Saints team is split. For the most part, the Saints are an extremely young team, but with a 39-year-old quarterback who is obviously the key to everything. Ricardo LeCompte reports from Metairie.
Drew Brees has done this training camp thing a time or two.
He's probably worked with 75 receivers and 48 running backs and 27 tight ends, and yet it doesn't seem like we're in our 13th camp, collectively as a group.
But it doesn't look like a 39-year-old suiting up for his 13th camp with the Saints.
He takes care of his body. He's an extremely diligent worker, and and prepares for it very well.
There's a reason why he's a Hall of Fame. There's a reason why he goes out here and he commands this offense and this team, and he leads the way he does. I mean, it's from the moment he wakes up to the moment he goes to bed. I mean, everything about him, it speaks volumes.
There's no denying Brees' impact for the black and gold. He's brought the same skill set and work ethic his entire career. But it's all a matter now of how much time is left in the Hall of Fame signal caller's career. Brees inked a 2-year extension in the offseason, but the second year in that deal is a team option.
There's still a lot of things I want to accomplish, and I understand the amount of work and effort that it's going to take to accomplish those things. And I understand that I don't have a whole lot of time left, and so I'm going to stay in the moment. I'm going to enjoy every second of it, because I know when it's over, it's over. There's no coming back. I want to be able to look back and say, man, I gave it everything I possibly could. I enjoyed every second of it, and now I can move on to the next chapter of my life and be at peace with that.
Of course, the drive to win another Super Bowl fuels number 9, but Brees says the greatest equalizer in his 18-year NFL career has been his family. It balances him out and puts him in a better place, especially in the twilight of his career.
That enjoyment in my life helps me be a better football player. And it also forces me, when I'm here, to be as efficient as possible, because I know, man, my time can't run over.
And Brees still has some time left. He's back under center with a team that has lofty expectations. And starting with this training camp, he'll try to make the pieces fit again to earn himself his second title at season's end.
I think we hope that's the window that we're entering again, right? With the young talent that we have, that we know will be here for a while, and the veteran guys that we've brought in to fill certain roles and be great leaders.
Thank you, Brees.
In Metairie, Ricardo LeCompte, 4th Down on 4.
All right, thanks, Ricardo. The window is open, but the clock is ticking. So what are the expectations for this season? We asked our quartet of experts, is this season Super Bowl or bust?
I don't know if it's Super Bowl or bust, but if they aren't in the Final Four of the NFC, it's going to feel a little bit disappointing. This team was right there last year. They've gotten better. I feel like the other teams in the NFC have also gotten better, but the Saints have a lot of young players that are ascending, and if they don't take that next step, it's going to feel a little bit hollow at the end of the year, and that's a much different feel than it's been around here for a very long time.
I don't know if I'd say Super Bowl or bust, but I mean, it's a year where, in the NFL, that window's always really small and it's always closing on you. So, they have all the pieces this year. Knock on wood, no injuries. I think this team, very well, this could be the year for them.
Ultimately, this is a talented team, and you look at the NFC right now. You got the Saints, the Eagles, the Falcons, the Packers. You also got the Rams. So I mean, you're jumbled up there. But I think it's playoffs or bust for sure. And I think that you want to get home field advantage. That's the key for the Saints. Either get the 1 seed or the 2 seed. Win your division. And I think you get in the playoffs. It's not a Super Bowl or bust. I think realistically though, an NFC Championship game appearance is something that I think that you ultimately also left out the Vikings. But you look at this NFC, it is stacked. It is like the Western Conference of the NBA.
I think that's the way everyone's going to look at it. You come as close as they did last year to making the NFC Championship game. Basically, the entire core of that team's back. You've added some pieces. I think you expect them to be competing for that. Now, the NFC is really tough this year, and how that shakes out, they could have a pretty good season and not end up there. But I think based on what they did last year and what they've got coming back and the foundation they've set, that's what it is. It's a Super Bowl or bust type year.
And this fall, one of the most popular Saints of all time becomes the voice of the Saints. Ricardo caught up with Zach Strief to talk about his new gig.
The search for the new voice of the Saints is over. Zach Strief named to the role earlier this week, and the former Saints offensive lineman giving us a few minutes of his time. First off, are you ready for this challenge?
I'm going to be ready for it. There's a lot of work left to be done. I have high expectations of myself, and I know the fans do. It's very hard to replace a guy like Jim Henderson, so I'm really excited for it, but I'll be ready when the first game rolls around.
I know you talked about all the reps getting ready for this. You called 100 games with you and Deuce with practice games. What did you learn about yourself, or what did you kind of learn that you needed to kind of work on as you were going for this job?
I think the biggest thing is you have a tendency to emulate
You know, I listen to so many of Jim's games to prepare and so many other announcers that you steal stuff that maybe isn't you or maybe not how you would say things. And the piece of advice that I got from so many broadcasters was just be yourself. And the longer I did it and the more comfortable I felt, the more I felt like it was really me and my emotions.
I was going to ask you, who were some of the people that you reached out to in the business to kind of learn what you needed to do to prepare for this?
Well, for one, I'll tell you, I was pretty limited. I didn't want to go out to every broadcaster in the country and kind of rub this in everybody's faces. So it was fairly limited, but Dave Ennett up in Northwestern was somebody that I spoke to. And obviously I'm going to lean pretty heavily here on Jim and all the guys. Listen, there was other guys that had been named as finalists, and they're all tremendous broadcasters, guys I have a ton of respect to. I listen to a lot of Joel Myers, who I think is fantastic. So, you know, him and Sean Kelly, I'm gonna reach out to everybody that I can and spend as much time with those guys as possible.
All right, take me into the booth. The very first time you called a game, I guess just kind of tell me how you would assess how you did.
I walked out of the room and I told my wife there's no way I could do that. One of the things that I don't think you have enough of an appreciation with until you do it is the amount of preparation necessary to do it well. And, you know, the first time I called, it was like, let's start somewhere. Let's go in and call a game. And, you know, in my head, I'm thinking, well, I know the Saints. I'll go in and it's not like that. You know, there's a tremendous amount of prep that's necessary to call the game well. It was also very interesting because I did the color the first time I called it with the play-by-play. So I did both sides of it and really just to get an understanding of the timing and the flow of it. So yeah, it was not good the first time, and I think I've grown a lot from that point, and I think the reality is I have a lot of growth left to do, and I'm fortunate to get to do it, you know, as the voice of the Saints.
Most people would be like, why not just jump in the color analyst role? But that's already filled here with Deuce McAllister, your former teammate. Does it make it easier having someone that you're very familiar with in the booth? Does that transition make it almost easier for you?
Well, it's certainly easy to have chemistry with the person that you're with, and I think, you know, Deuce obviously wants me to succeed, and Deuce has been helpful. So that's certainly going to help. And, you know, the jump into play-by-play, I think, is more than anything a product of availability. And, you know, for me, I love this organization. I've said that more than enough since I left. And this is an opportunity to really, in my mind, kind of be a fan and to bring the excitement and energy that I have for this organization to the fans, so I know match that amount of energy and excitement. So I think it's going to be really great. I think I have a good connection with the people here, and I just hope everyone knows that for me, it's, you know, it's important to me that I give them the best experience possible.
Well, if you worked as hard as you did on the field to perfect your craft there in the booth, I'm sure that transition is going to go well for you. Good luck as you start this new season as the new voice of the Saints. Zach Strief joining us as he will be now calling games for the Saints coming up this season.
Still ahead, LSU Defensive Coordinator Dave Aranda stopped by Airline Drive this week to visit with a former colleague and find out what he could learn from the Saints to help make his Tigers better in practice. That story when we come back. LSU opens fall practice this weekend. Many college coaches took their final vacations before a long season this week, but not the professor. Dave Aranda spent 2 days watching and learning from Saints coaches in Metairie.
That's why I asked you that question.
More than anything, Dave Aranda says he just loves being here, being immersed in football.
There's not a lot of spots you can go where you can get just football all the time, and so it's a great shot right before the season to have that.
Aranda was once an intern under Saints linebackers coach Mike Nolan. They've had a long friendship. He says he learns from watching Nolan and Dennis Allen. He learns from how they scheme and how they interact with their players. And he says he tries to take lessons about the professionalism of NFL players back to his players.
I wish we could bring our players here to watch a practice. When I watched this practice, there was no one on the ground. Everybody was up. Everyone's running to the ball. Everyone's using hand signals and communicating. And these are all things that we try to build our program on. And I think we're good at some of those things, still working on other parts of those. And for them to see it would be outstanding because it's a different style.
It's all business, an approach Dave Aranda always takes. He's 41 years old, entering his third season at LSU, and he's now one of America's highest paid assistants, with what he calls the best front seven he's had to work with so far.
We've got a front that's got experience and explosiveness. I think on our edges, we've got guys that can win one-on-ones. In terms of the guys that can play big when we want to play big, and the guys that can play small when we want to play small, we have those guys. And so that's something that we haven't had in the past, and I'm glad we got it now.
A smile from the professor, who gets back to doing what he loves Saturday. And LSU has two critical games in their first four. The opener, of course, against a very good Miami team. That's a Sunday nighter, then Southeastern at Tiger Stadium. And then a huge SEC opener on the road at Auburn. That's a game you'll see here on Channel 4. Then Louisiana Tech in Baton Rouge. We'll learn a lot about the Tigers early. Back with more 4th Down on 4 in a minute. Saints fans open the season confident, and they should. 62% of fans say the Saints will get to the Super Bowl, and very few think the team will not make the playoffs. Expectations are fun, and it's a big week in Metairie this week. 6 days of practice. For producer Danny Rockwell, photographer Adam Ney, Ricardo LeCompte, Andrew Doak, and all of us here at Eyewitness Sports, I'm Doug Mouton. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week on 4th Down on 4.